The quarantine bay's sterile lights cast harsh shadows across Saren Voss's face as she stood between the trembling cubs and the armed security team. Her hands were raised, not in surrender, but in defiance, a human barrier of flesh and bone against cold military protocol. "Stand aside, Dr. Voss." Commander Roktor's voice crackled through the intercom, his mandibles clicking with barely contained irritation. The Catharian officer's 4 eyes fixed on her through the observation window, 2 focused on her face, 2 on the biometric scanner displaying the cub's contamination levels. "This is not a request." Saren didn't move. Behind her, 3 Velnari cubs no older than human toddlers in equivalent years, huddled together in their containment cell. Their fur, normally a pristine silver, was mottled with the telltale dark patches of necrosis plague. The youngest one, barely able to stand on her stubby legs, clutched at Saren's lab coat through the gap in the barrier. "They're children," Saren said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. "Sentient children. They are vectors." Roktor descended from the observation deck, his exoskeleton clicking against the metal stairs. At 7 feet tall, he towered over Saren's modest 5'6" frame. The necrosis plague has a 97% mortality rate across all known species. These cubs are already in stage 2 infection. Protocol demands immediate elimination to prevent outbreak. Protocol was written before we discovered the human immune response, Saren countered, pulling up her data slate. "I've been running tests for the past 48 hours. My antibodies, human antibodies, show a remarkable capacity to neutralize the plague's progression. Look at the data, Commander. Stage 2 doesn't have to be terminal." Roktor's primary eyes narrowed. "Your preliminary research is insufficient evidence to risk this station's 3,000 inhabitants. The Galactic Health Accord is explicit. The accord was established by species who never encountered humanity," Saren interrupted, surprising herself with her own boldness. "You've all spent centuries fearing this plague, building protocols around the assumption that infection equals death, but humans, we're different. We've survived hundreds of plagues on Earth. Our immune systems are aggressive, adaptable. I've already synthesized a preliminary treatment using my own plasma, untested, unverified." Roktor stepped closer, his plasma rifle humming to life. The security team behind him, 2 Catharians and a hulking Dronthar, raised their weapons in synchronization. "You are emotionally compromised, Doctor. This is exactly why humans shouldn't work in xenopediatrics. You lack the necessary detachment." Saren felt the smallest cub's tiny fingers tighten on her coat. Through her peripheral vision, she could see the other 2 cubs, brothers, their files had said pressing themselves against the back wall. Their large, liquid eyes held an understanding beyond their years. They knew what those weapons meant. "You're right," Saren said quietly, lowering her hands to her sides. "I am emotionally compromised." I looked into their eyes and saw children. Not case numbers. Not contamination statistics. Children who are scared and sick and deserve a chance to live. She took a step backward, placing herself fully within the containment cell's threshold. The transparent barrier hummed, and warning lights flickered. She had just crossed into the hot zone without proper containment gear. "Dr. Voss!" Roktor's voice rose in alarm. "Exit the cell immediately." No." Saren knelt down, gathering the smallest cub into her arms. The creature's body heat burned through her clothes. Fever. Stage 2 marker. But the cub's rapid heartbeat against her chest felt like hope. "If you're going to eliminate them, you'll have to eliminate me too. I'm now exposed. Same protocol applies." "If you're going to eliminate them," the security team exchanged uncertain glances. Shooting a human doctor on a galactic coalition station would create diplomatic nightmares that would ripple across a dozen star systems. Earth was new to the galactic community, but humanity's reputation for volatility and their terrifying capacity for vengeance was already well established. Roktor's mandibles spread in frustration, a gesture Saren had learned, meant he was calculating options. "You're willing to die for these cubs? Creatures you met 2 days ago?" "I'm willing to die proving you wrong," Saren corrected, her arms tightening protectively around the cub. Humans don't abandon the vulnerable. It's not a weakness, Commander. It's what makes us strong. We survived everything Earth threw at us, predators, plagues, ice ages, because we protected our young. All young. Even those that weren't ours. She stood slowly, the cub still cradled against her shoulder. The other 2 cubs crept forward, pressing against her legs. Give me 72 hours. Let me try my treatment. If it fails, if I'm wrong. She met Roktor's 4 eyes without flinching. Then you'll have 4 bodies to eliminate instead of 3. But if I'm right, you'll have saved 3 innocent lives and discovered a cure for a plague that's haunted the galaxy for generations. The silence stretched like a chasm. Saren could hear her own heartbeat, feel the cub's shallow breathing, sense the weapons still trained on her position. Somewhere in the station's ventilation system, air cycled with a mechanical whisper. Finally, Roktor's mandibles clicked a sound that could mean anything from amusement to resignation. Humans, he muttered, lowering his weapon. You're all insane. Insane enough to save lives others would write off, Saren replied. The commander's stance shifted, his exoskeleton relaxing slightly. 72 hours, Dr. Voss. But you remain in quarantine. If your condition deteriorates, if those cubs show signs of stage 3 progression, you'll do what protocol demands, Saren finished. I understand. As the security team filed out, weapons powering down, Saren felt the tension drain from her shoulders. The smallest cub nuzzled against her neck, making a soft, chirping sound, the Velnari equivalent of a purr. Behind her, the 2 brothers cautiously approached, their dark-patched fur catching the harsh lights. Roktor paused at the threshold, looking back. For what it's worth, Doctor. I hope your human stubbornness proves as effective as your human antibodies. So do I, Commander. Saren whispered, sinking down to sit cross-legged on the floor. The 3 cubs clustered around her, seeking warmth and comfort. So do I. Through the observation window, she could see the medical team assembling, preparing to monitor what would either be a breakthrough or a tragedy. Saren pulled up her data slate with one hand while stroking the youngest cub's fever-hot fur with the other. 72 hours to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons, it was their refusal to give up on the innocent, no matter the cost.